kids, this is Shweta Roy, your English master teacher at Vedantu, and I welcome all of you to today's session. Today we are going to cover a very important topic from your grammar section. This is from NCERT class 10 obviously, and this is from your grammar section. So I got a lot of requests from you all. When are you taking, ma'am? When are you taking the grammar section? So here I am with the grammar section, and this is one of the most important topic from your grammar section, that is passive voice and active voice. Yes. So we will do voice change in this section. So let us have today's amazing session on voice. So yes guys, if you have still not downloaded the Vedantu app, then please do not wait any long. Do download this app and study from the safety of your home. Get access to free live classes from grade 1 to grade 12. So what is voice? Voice is not the voice that we are producing, no. Voice is a particular form of the verb which shows whether the subject of the verb is the doer or the target of the action. So, in a sentence, we have subject, we have verb, we have object, right? So, if we come to know, voice helps us to understand whether the subject is active, like he is on the, initial position, that is, he is the doer of the action, he is the active participant in the action, or is he the passive recipient? So that we come to know with the help of voice. So that is what is voice, that is particular form of the verb which shows whether the subject of the verb is the doer or he is the receiver, right? So further moving ahead, let us see what is an active voice. Now there are two types of voice, active, passive. Dekho, every time try to go by the words. The meaning or the definition will be hidden in the word itself. For example, active voice. You have the word active, right? Just remember, active voice is where the subject is active. Easy? Subject is active means subject is the doer of the work. So therefore, the work is done by the subject. So where the work is done by the subject, that means the subject is the active doer of the action, right? So active doer, subject will occupy the initial position of the sentence. So active voice means subject active. Subject active means he will come at the first or in the beginning of the sentence, right? Very easy to remember, simplest trick ever. Okay. For example, now we will exemplify with the help of few sentences. First is, the boy looked in the mirror. So first of all, we need to identify which is the subject. Okay. So here, the boy is the subject. So now we have to see whether the boy is doing the action or not. Yes, the boy is doing the action of looking in the mirror. So therefore, the subject is on the doing end, and therefore he is occupying the initial position. Subject active, therefore occupying the initial position. Therefore, the sentence is in active voice. Next sentence, the accountant counted the money. Subject is the accountant. He is the doer of the action. Therefore, he is occupying the initial position. Tom has plucked the flowers. Tom is the active person who is doing the action of plucking the flowers. So therefore, that is active voice. So Tom, you can see he is occupying the initial position in the sentence. So over here, you can very well see that all the subjects are occupying the initial position. So what is the formation of active voice? You have the subject first, you then have the object, and at last you have the subject first, then you have the action or the verb, and finally you have the object. So active voice means subject, verb, object, right? Very easy, don't have to worry, it's not that tough. Passive voice means what? When the subject is passive. Passive का मतलब क्या होता है? When it is not performing the action. So here, the verb that expresses what is done to the subject is said to be in the passive voice. If you are not able to understand the definition, forget it. No need to go by the definition. Just remember that passive voice means the place of the subject is changed from the beginning to the end, because subject is no longer doing the action. So in passive voice, the importance is not on the subject of the sentence, the importance is on the action being performed. How? Let me give you some example. The mirror was looked into by the boy. So over here you can see the boy who was the subject has occupied the last position. Last position means passive, right? Very easy. So over here you can see the stress is on the action of looking at the mirror, and the stress or the focus is not on the boy who's the subject, right? So the boy, the subject, is pushed backwards at the end of the sentence. And what is our focus? Our focus is on the action of looking. Okay? So the structure of passive voice is just the interchanging of subject and object. Subject and object. And the verb will remain in the middle. Okay? Only the object will come in the beginning and subject will go at the end. So that is how it is. The money was counted by the accountant. The flowers have been plucked by Tom. So another easy way of identifying whether a sentence is in active voice or passive voice is very simple. In passive voice, you always have the third form of the verb, V3, and you always have V3 in subject, in a passive voice. So that is an easy way where you can identify whether the sentence is in active or passive voice. So how to form passive voice from active voice? That is again very interesting. Active voice, subject plus verb plus object, as I told you, and passive voice is object plus forms of to be plus past participle. So as I told you, always look for V3 or past participle, and then you have by, and then you have subject. Okay, so very easy. Just look for V3. If there is V3, obviously your sentence is in passive voice. Now, how to form passive voice from active voice? Passive voice needs two verbs to be created, and it always carries a form of the verb to be. So it has to be to be. A form of the verb to be needs to be there in passive voice, and as I told you, the past participle or the V3 of the main verb. For example, Tom played cricket. So what you need to do is you need to bring cricket in the front and Tom at the end. Okay, so cricket was played by Tom. Okay, so you have here was is a form of to be, right? Was is a form of to be, and played is the V3. Okay, V3. So play, played, played. So V2 and V3 both are same in case of play. I hope you know that. Next is how to form passive voice from active voice. You should be well acquainted with the forms of to be to easily form passive voice. Forms of to be. Now you need to know what are the forms of to be. These are the forms of to be. Am, is, are, was, were, being, been. These are the forms of to be. So you need to be acquainted with that as well. Now let us have a look at the example in order to clarify our concept, okay, and make it easier and simpler. So now Ram killed Ravana. You can see that this is in active voice because Ram occupies the beginning of the sentence. Now we will apply the formula which we have learned previously. We will replace the subject and the object. Here Ravana was the object. Ram killed who? Ram killed Ravana. So Ravana becomes the object and Ravan will come at the initial position when we are changing into passive voice. So Ravan was is the verb of to be. Okay, killed is V3. Okay, and this is V2. Killed over here is V2, but over here it becomes V3. Okay, by Ram, that is subject. Some more examples to clarify your concept. Active voice, Jack reads a book. Simple. A book is read by, sorry, this will not be Peter, this will be Jack. Sorry. Please excuse this. A book is read by Jack. So please do remember that you need to keep the verb same. Like you need to keep the tense same. Since this is Jack reads, this is in present tense. So therefore, you need to add simple present only when you are changing from active to passive voice. Please do not confuse with direct and indirect speech. The concept of direct and indirect speech is entirely different. So when we will come up with direct and indirect speech, then we will talk about that. But now, please do concentrate on voice. Do not change the tense. The driver is driving the bus. So here you have continuous, right? So passive voice, the bus is being driven, again V3, okay? So always passive voice will have V3. Please remember that, by the driver. We won the match. The match was won by us. So won is in past. Definitely we need to keep the verb same. So that is why was. He will arrange a workshop. So here it is in future. So we need to keep in mind about that. And we need to also add V3, right? A workshop will be arranged by him. Now, how to form active voice from passive voice? So, a point that we should keep in mind is that the past participle will always be followed by a by phrase, okay, which shows who or what performed the action. Passive sentences can be easily converted into active sentence when the object of the preposition by is moved to subject. Simple, just object will come in the beginning, okay, in case of active voice. For example, the ice creams were eaten by the students. The students ate the ice cream. The classrooms are cleaned by the teachers. The teachers cleaned the classroom. So you can see the interchanging of subject and object, right? Now, where do we use active voice? It is commonly used by everyone. It is a more direct, clear, strong. It conveys the idea precisely. For example, active voice, everyone on the school heard the loud music. And passive voice, loud music was heard on the school. So if you, if you speak in active voice, then that means that holds a stronger impact. Whereas passive voice, the sentences are much weaker, right? So whenever we speak, actually we are speaking in active voice, okay? So it is most commonly used. Passive voice, when do we use? Sometimes the person or thing performing the action is not as important as the person or thing acted upon. So sometimes what happens, the person is not that important, but the action is more important. So as I told you that whenever there is a focus on the action, at that time we have passive voice. For example, the teacher took some students to boardroom for cleaning. Okay, so that becomes weak over here. Why? Because here the focus is on the action of cleaning the boardroom. Okay, so that is why whenever there is a focus on the action of doing something, the focus whenever is on the action rather than on the subject or rather than the performer of the action, at that time we are using passive voice. We also use passive voice when we do not know or do not want to reveal who performed the action. For example, the window was broken. So we know that Jill has broken the window, but we want to hide. So suppose आपके घर में your brother or your sister, younger one, has broken a pot and you want to save your brother or sister. So what would you say to your mother? Mother, mother, the pot is broken. So that means you want to hide the identity of the person. Or suppose you have broken the pot, or you have broken some, utensil, or like a glass utensil or any dish. Suppose you have broken a dish. So what will you say? Mother, the dish is broken. You do not want to reveal that it is you who have broken the dish. So during that time also we use passive voice. So I hope you have enjoyed today's session and you learned what is active voice, what is passive voice, how to differentiate between the active and passive voice. And I know that students get a lot of confusions regarding active and passive voice. So this was just a step, like this was just a beginning step, and we are definitely coming up with more session with lots and lots of more examples. And yes, this was a little simpler one, but I am going to come with lots and lots of new examples, which is going to be a little tough than what you have done today. Since this was the first session, so I made it quite simple for you all so that you understand the concept very clearly, and then we are going to solve lots and lots of examples, lots and lots of exercise so that you practice well and you score well in your exams. So share your love, guys, by clicking on the like button, and yes, do comment how did you like the session, and do subscribe. Keep yourself subscribed. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye. See you again in the next session.